Let's speak now to Mpho Kwinika, who's the General Secretary of the Independent Policing Union of South Africa, about the new wardens. Thank you so much for your time, Mpho. We do appreciate it. Let's just start off with what you feel about this new massive program that's going to cost over 850 million rand for the province. The main aim is to fight crime in and around the whole province. Do you think that this is going to work?
Good evening. Yes, Heidi, this is a very ambitious project which is aimed at ensuring that the peoples of Gauteng are safe and that they don't just feel safe, but they are made to feel safe. This project, when the Premier started 6 months ago, it was so ambitious, and many of us did not believe that he's going to realize it. And I heard him saying this today, that it is a dream that really came true. But you see, Heidi, they are now a force multiplier. Their duty is to make sure that they support SAPS in their efforts to ensure that each and every citizen in Gauteng are rid of crime. So they come with resources. The resources which they are bringing here are resources which some of them the SAPS does not have. The use of drones, which is highly regulated, and we hope that they have got legislations to deal with the issue of aviation. They also have got people that are trained to deal to operate those drones. Then you also have got the issue of firearms which they are going to use. Those firearms need to be registered and licensed for those people to utilize. And I'm not saying that they are not competent to carry any firearm, because the institution that trained them might be a competent institution to train them on each and every firearm that they were trained on.
Let's stay on the issue of firearms, because there's been much concern around these wardens having access to firearms. But we have heard from those involved in this particular project that there's still training that needs to happen. But I'm a little concerned about these firearms, and I'll tell you why, Mpho, because oftentimes you see police officers, JMPD, even ambulances, healthcare practitioners being robbed, especially police and JMPD in this matter, being robbed of their guns. Are you worried that this could also be the case here? And then we'll move into the issue of training.
Look, the firearms are equipment which criminals want so desperately to utilize for crime purposes. And any institution of state which carries firearms must have in place sufficient facilities to ensure that those firearms are safe at all times. But we should be worried about the firearms which they will be carrying as they go about doing their duties. I think the same risks which goes to the South African police members and any other institutions, including security companies or security guards who carries firearms. Criminals are always preying on these individuals for those firearms so that they can utilize them for crime purposes.
Maybe also speak to us about the training issue, because many are saying that extensive training needs to happen here for these wardens to have sufficient training to be able to carry a firearm, especially in volatile situations. We don't know what they're going to face out there, and there might be some resistance, especially where crime is rife. Do you think that training is just going to be sufficient for them to be able to handle any situation, especially with a firearm?
Look, I think 3 months, it's a little bit short for them to be able to have the authority to have, to carry firearms, do crime prevention work and all that. So 3 months, really, it is too short. But we think this is going to be an ongoing thing for them to carry this kind of firearms. However, Heidi, we still are to find out what types of firearms are they going to to be carrying. I think the Premier spoke to this issue because he was looking at the issue of legislations, because if they are going to use handguns, those handguns must be registered and licensed under the Crime Prevention of Gauteng Crime Prevention Wardens project. So those are some of the things that they will have to look at when it comes to use of legislations. If they are going to utilize rifles, that is another story, because we don't know what their infrastructure looks like. Unlike if they were to come in and assist Metro Police, if they were going to be placed under Metro Police has got infrastructure already. The Gauteng Traffic Department has got infrastructure already. So we don't know where lies their infrastructure, where is their head office, what is their command structure looks like. Then the issues of command and control, the management part of this thing comes into play.
I want to ask you about strengthening the already existing police force that we have in this province. Should that have not been the priority, or do you think that a mix of this crime prevention wardens project that the Premier has decided to put a lot of energy and money into is also going to boost and strengthen the already existing police force that we have?
You see, like we are saying as the opposer, it would have been nice if these resources were spent in bolstering the capacity of Metro Police, whom currently has got problems, similar problems with the SAPS when it comes to shortages of manpower and shortages of vehicles. So all of these resources that we see being displayed in the formations of the Crime Prevention Wardens unit could have been used for, and especially to Metro Police, because its mandate is similar to in crime prevention. The role of crime prevention, it is well placed at Metro Police. So that would have been a very good, project, adding those resources in that department. But currently we see them as a standalone, and there is a lot of challenges which we see that are coming. But having said this, we need to quickly indicate the following, that this project is bringing in CCTVs that are face identification and vehicle identification kind of things. They are also bringing in drones. If they're not properly utilized, the people's privacy is going to be invaded. And there's going to be a lot of civil claims if this thing is not properly managed. That is one part. The second part is, the good side of it is that the visibility of police officials in Gauteng is going to increase, but we are also going to increase in crime detection. So the detective services are going to have a lot of support in their cases, which is going to have successful prosecutions in court.
I mean, you raise an interesting point about the fact that if this technology is not utilized properly, it could be invasive. But on the upside of it, Mpho, maybe you can elaborate on this, it's something that we need, especially in very intense areas. For example, in the inner city, a lot of time things happen, and if there was camera footage, we would have been able to access that, and those that are investigating would have been able to investigate further with some kind of footage. So there is an upside to incorporating technology such as cameras and drones into all of this.
Yes, the law, it's very important. The law needs to be adhered to at all times. Any information that is collected from this environment, that information must be used legally. It should not give the police or any other person the opportunity to go and invade on people's privacies. So, but the flip side of it is that when the law is fully complied with, we will see the increase in prosecutions, because then we will have a lot of information and credible information that will be presented before courts for prosecution purposes.
Certainly. You mentioned a number of other challenges, and I'm curious to know what else your concerns are when it comes to this new project.
Look, the issue of the drones, they are going to be operating in a civil aviation environment. I think the Premier spoke about legislations one will think, I don't want to think for him, but one will think that he is talking or referring to some of these things, that we need to register with civil aviation. And then the other role that they need to play legislative-wise, it is the training of those who are going to use the drones. Because at a later stage, they are going to be regarded as expert witnesses who will be required to go and give evidence in court. So these people must have been well trained, and these people must have the expertise to manage these resources, and these people must have the credibility for their evidence not to be rebutted by the courts.
Certainly. I'm curious to know what you think about this, the cost of this project. I had interviewed the Premier earlier on, and he said it's got nothing to do with the actual cost, and we shouldn't focus on this. But I think it's costing about 850 million rand. He says it's more about the impact that it's going to have, because he says about 80% of communities in the province have not been policed.
Look, we know very well, it is a known fact that South Africans are yearning for peace. South Africans are put under pressure by criminals. The president in his SONA statement has indicated that South Africans fear crime and they are under siege from criminals. So everyone who makes any effort to try and rid South Africans of crime, those initiatives should be welcomed. There is no value that must be attached to the lives that we continue to lose every day in South Africa. But remember, value of money is important as well when it comes to providing the resources which in future, if this resource is not going to be seen to be fruitful or bearing the fruit which it has been intended for, we may simply see officials being charged with fruitless expenditure. So it is important that all the monies that is being put in here, we see value for that money. And anything that goes wrong with this project, people will be held accountable.
So overall, Mpho, maybe in closing, you can just tell us what overall you feel about this. Do you think it's going to make an impact, especially in communities that are in desperate need of policing? We find these communities saying, we don't even have a police station. The police station in the area only has one van. They take hours to come out when we call them out. Don't you think that this is going to contribute in police visibility and perhaps, really dealing with a lot of the crimes that happen in these communities that are so under-resourced?
Policing function is a national competency. Policing function has always been done by the South African Police Service. South Africans have been yearning for this, for visibility from this structure, but remember again, it is public knowledge that the police have got critical human resource and vehicle shortages. And the role of the provinces, it was very minimal in the past. So the introduction of this kind of policing by Gauteng, if it yields any good results, we hope that other provinces are going to take a leaf out of this and implement this. This is going to assist the South African Police Service, as this will be playing a force multiplier kind of policing to the South African Police Service. So the province of Gauteng has played its part. They have made us resources available to fight crime. What we need to see is proper coordination of the activities between the province and the national, the Ministry of Police and the command structure of the SAPS.
Okay, thank you so much for your time and your insights, and we do hope that at the end of the day these criminals are caught and our communities become a whole lot safer. That was the General Secretary of the Independent Policing Union of South Africa, Mpho Kwinika.